Quick warning before anything else. This video spoils Mistborn: The Final Empire from start to finish. If you haven't read it, go read it and then come back. Have you ever read a book that made you love a hero much more after their death? Mistborn: The Final Empire does exactly that with Kelsier. He dies right before the end, and that's when we realize the heist's true purpose was to give the skaa a martyr all along. And Mistborn just turned 20. 20 years ago, this book came out. So to celebrate, I reread it, and I want to walk you through Kelsier's journey and why I think Vin was never the hero of this story, only the protagonist. Every time a scene is described in this book, there's ash and soot. Sanderson really makes an effort to make us believe Scadrial is not doing well as a planet. The skaa are slaves in all but name, and the nobility is so detached from everything else that just existing in this world takes effort. Plants as we know them don't even exist anymore. Mayor Kelsier's late wife had a flower painting, and that painting is how we learn plants used to be green. Used to be. A drawing of a flower is a treasure in this world. You either serve your betters or oppress your lessers. There's no in between. And then we get introduced to Kelsier, who is definitely insane. I believe Kelsier was ready to give up everything through most of this book. I don't know if he planned to die before page 1, but he was there for a very long time. And it makes sense he would live the way he did if all he planned to do was die as a martyr. When that's your plan, you don't plan for riches. You don't plan for family. Same way Vin infiltrated the balls and met Elend, Kelsier could have met his next wife too. He devoted his time to other pursuits. One of my favorite moments in this book is in chapter 31. Vin comes back in only her shift after having been rejected by Elend and fought with Scadrial. She explodes at the crew when Kelsier reprimands her for saving Elend, a nobleman. And later, on the roof, she asks him, "When are you going to leave me too?" He sorrowfully says he doesn't know, but he does know. That sorrow is something deeper than sympathy. And rereading that conversation, knowing what he knows, is gut-wrenching. We start this story with Vin completely detached from the other Allomancers in Kelsier's group. Kelsier himself is described as imposing, a little scary. But as the book goes on, Vin grows attached to each of them, starts to consider them as friends, and Kelsier makes the effort to have her study with each of them. Think about that. Kelsier is a Mistborn. He has access to all of the metals. But Breeze, Clubs, Ham, even Marsh, they're Mistings who have perfected their one power. She learns a lot from them. In a way, they become Vin's family. And Kelsier's. And those relationships, the trust he put into those friendships, is what let him do what he did next. It's so obvious now, looking back. The few times the group went to the square doing executions, Kelsier was all about keeping morale. He knew he didn't stand a chance against the Lord Ruler. And given what we learn about how Vin eventually defeated the Lord Ruler, it's safe to say nobody had a chance. What Vin did was an unexplained feat, left as an open question, one that gets answered in the sequels. So knowing he couldn't win, Kelsier did all he could to break the barrier of fear, so that when the time finally came and he gave his life, these people he called friends would answer the call and continue what he started. And part of that effort was making sure Vin became the Mistborn she was always meant to be. Through most of this book, Reen's voice whispers in Vin's ear, making her doubt herself, distance herself from people, sabotage everything good in her life. Kelsier showed her the opposite, kindness, a shelter where she could be herself and stop fearing what the next hour would bring. And both of those people sacrificed themselves. Reen, as we learn from Carr, never gave Vin up, even under Inquisitor torture. Kelsier gave his life in the fight against the Lord Ruler. Both of them died so Vin could live and grow. Kelsier released the skaa. Reen freed Vin. Those sacrifices allow her to grow into the person who doesn't shy away from Elend venture at the end of the book. But more than that, they help her grow into the person who makes moves, not just does as she's told. Because for most of this book, it's Kelsier who sets the tone and the plot. He gives the directions, and Vin follows orders or follows in his footsteps. Kelsier didn't just pass her the 11th medal. He passed her the Mantle of Heroism. She doesn't know it yet, but defeating the Lord Ruler made others see her as a hero. Her job, going forward, will be to own it. And this is why she was never the hero of this book, only the protagonist. So we end with Vin not feeling like a hero but perceived as one, still not comfortable giving up her survival instincts, but choosing Elend anyway, that open-ended growth is how Sanderson sells us on the sequel. If there's one thing Sanderson does best, it's weave a plot through multiple books. Kelsier dies, the Lord Ruler falls. That's the payoff we've been waiting for. But what happens next? Luthadel, the whole central dominance, is without leadership, and Elend Venture is trying to fill that void. Will he succeed? What about him and Vin? What about the skaa? Do they get the better life Kelsier wanted for them? These are threads Sanderson weaves through this book in a way he didn't for Elantris or Warbreaker. Those were standalones, at least so far. And there's a craft lesson in that for aspiring authors, myself included. If you intend to write a trilogy, act like it. Plan for it. I'll be walking through those threads in the next book, The Well of Ascension. And honestly, I remember almost nothing about book 2. So it's going to be a first-time reader energy, but with reread eyes. The essay version of this video is on my blog, and the link is in the description. And the newsletter readers get the essay first. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in book 2.